What about Cupid? Sayani looks around herself and sees she is surrounded by her friends and family. She smiles. They all look happy and content. She felt the green-eyed monster trying to make an appearance. They were all paired up with someone she felt like the 11th wheel. She stared at her sister and her best friend, glaring at them slightly. Not once have they thanked her for getting them together. Ungrateful fruits, she thought. She turned to her cousin and her friend's sister. They didn't thank her either. She frowned at herself. It never bothered her before, so why did she seem so envious and annoyed now? She glanced around and she saw 11 people and 5 pairs. Was she lonely? She had matched up so many people in her life that she hadn't left anyone to keep her company. They were all too busy with each other to remember she was there. She sighed. She should be happy for them. She was happy for them, but she was also a bit tired of feeling left out. She looked at everyone and decided to take a walk around the mall her own. It would be a while before they noticed she was gone anyways. She slipped away from the group and headed towards the arcade. She spotted a few friends who stopped to say hello. Some even stopped to thank her for pairing him up with their current partner. She always felt so happy when that happened. She enjoyed making people happy. It was the key to her happiness, but now she felt like they were just rubbing it in her face that she felt lonely. She headed towards the skee-ball game machine, dragging her feet as she walked. She inserted a coin into the machine and started tossing the ball. After playing for a few more minutes, Sayani picked up her tickets and began walking around in search of something else to do. She stopped in front of a whack-a-mole game and decided to try it out. She slipped a coin in and picked up the hammer. She threw the hammer backward to gain momentum but ends up hitting something behind her instead. She turns around quickly, ready to apologize, when she burst out laughing at the sight in front of her. There was a guy from her philosophy class standing in front of her with a red nose looking like Rudolph. It wasn't that funny, but it cheered her up immensely. She put her hands over her mouth to muffle her laughter before finally apologizing. "Sorry about that, Rudolph," she said, breaking into a fit of giggles yet again. "The name's Eric actually. You're Sayani, right?" he said, watching her with an amused look on his face. "Yeah. How do you know? Almost everyone knows who you are. You're Sayani the matchmaker." Eric raised an eyebrow at her, wondering how she didn't know how popular she was amongst her peers. "Oh, yeah. Is that why you're here? Because you need help with your love life? I'm sorry to tell you, but I can't help you right now." Sayani frowned, tucking her hands into her pocket. Eric laughed at her. She looked angry, but she was too cute and short to be taken seriously. "I didn't come to ask for help with my non-existent love life, and if I remember correctly, you're the one who whacked me in the nose." Sayani felt the frown on her face disappear. She suddenly felt guilty. She didn't even properly apologize about that. "I'm sorry about that, I really am." "Well, I'm not. Wanna know why?" he asked her while looking at her intensely. "Why?" "Because if you didn't whack me in the nose, then I wouldn't have noticed you, and then I wouldn't have gotten to see this beautiful face." He had a silly little smirk on his face, his lips twitching with every word. Smooth, but a piece of advice. Cheesy pickup lines are cute and all, but not all girls like them," she said, laughing. "Do you?" he asked, looking at her expectantly. "Huh? You said not all girls like cheesy pickup lines, but are you one of the girls who do?" he inquired impatiently. "I don't know. I guess I never really asked myself that question before. I mean, they're cute, I guess," she shrugged. Eric stared at her for a few seconds before she broke the silence. "There's a hot girl checking you out, to your left. She's in our history class," she said discreetly, pointing at the girl. Eric barely glanced at the girl before muttering a small, "Not interested." They fell back into silence. "Do you want to grab some ice cream?" Eric blurted out, breaking the silence. Sayani stared at him for a few seconds before blinking at him and muttering a sure. She checks her phone for the time and sees she's been gone almost 30 minutes. She quickly texts her sister that she was out with a friend. Was Eric a friend? She shrugged it off, then followed Eric to the ice cream parlor. She gets herself a scoop of vanilla and watches in disgust as Eric orders 2 scoops of chocolate. "What?" he asks her, feeling her gaze on the side of his face as they head towards a table. "How can you eat that?" she asks him with a look of disgust on her face. "What, the chocolate?" he asks, confused. She nods and scrunches up her nose. "It's delicious," He tells her. He tried to convince her to take a bit of it, but she refuses. So, how come your matches always work out so nicely? Eric asks, talking about her apparent gift to get the perfect two people together. I don't know. I guess I just pay attention to little things. She shrugs with a slight blush. So, what about the Cupid? Eric asks her. What about the Cupid? She asks, genuinely confused. Who's going to find him a match? No one, I guess. She said, thinking about it.